The story begins with a young girl standing quietly in front of an elderly woman's house, a large bag slung over her back. The old woman, holding a bundle of freshly ironed clothes, apologizes for always making her come all this way. The girl waves off the concern cheerfully, encouraging her to call her at any time. With a humble bow and polite greeting, she takes her leave, carrying the heavy bag and her gentle smile. She runs past tall buildings and through the crowded market. The hot sun beats down on her, and sweat covers her face as she keeps going. As she approaches her shop, she notices an elderly woman already waiting outside. Alarmed and worried that she may have kept her waiting too long, she quickly runs to the entrance, apologizing sincerely as she unlocks the door. Breathlessly, she asks whether the woman has been waiting for a while. However, the elderly lady gently reassures her, calmly explaining that she just arrived. Once inside the shop, the old woman expresses sympathy for her demanding daily routine. Yet the girl responds with a cheerful smile, justifying that her workload is usually quite manageable. It is only on weekends, days like today, that she has multiple pickups and deliveries, which can make things especially hectic. After getting ready and putting on her apron, she apologizes for making the lady wait and then begins examining the old woman's laundry. Her attention is immediately caught by a stubborn stain on one of the dresses. She becomes a little shocked at how persistent the stain is, but the elderly lady encourages her to try, sharing that she had attempted to remove it weeks ago without success. Although she feels slightly worried at first, she confidently reassures the woman that she will do her best to remove the stain. Once the lady leaves, touched by her polite farewell, she returns to the shop and immediately resumes work with machine-like efficiency. She irons, folds, and packs each item carefully, selecting the proper detergents before loading the laundry for delivery. Around 3 p.m., she turns her attention to the elderly woman's shirt. She starts with a gentle, fabric-safe detergent, carefully working on the stubborn stain. Despite hours of effort, it refuses to fade. Determined to succeed, she switches to the electric cleaning machine, ensuring a thorough wash while keeping the other garments neatly hung on racks. At last, her persistence pays off. The shirt is completely spotless, a small but satisfying reward for her hard work. Just then, another customer steps into the shop. She offers a warm greeting, just as she always does at Kinmi's store. The modern-looking woman appears thoughtful and serious, which briefly puzzles her. After a short pause, she playfully pretends to think deeply as well. Then she brightens and hands over a small pack of sweets, cheerfully asking if she might be craving something sugary. Kinmi's face lights up, filling the moment with warmth. Grateful and slightly humbled, Kinmi thanks her. The customer explains that the sweets were brought back from her husband's business trip. Kinmi kindly offers her a drink, but she gently declines. Kinmi retrieves the finished laundry and presents the freshly cleaned coats. While doing so, she casually asks whether the customer usually rides a bike. The woman smiles, explaining that cycling helps keep her muscles strong. Their friendly conversation continues as Kinmi carefully hands over 2 suits and 5 dress shirts. The woman expresses her appreciation, mentioning how pleased her husband is with the service. He especially loves how fresh and comfortable the fabrics feel after Kinmi cares for them. Hearing this praise fills Kinmi with quiet happiness. Yagara begins discussing how they usually wash their clothes at home. Though she insists that suits should be dry cleaned, Kinmi agrees politely. Then, with a shy blush, she reveals her own careful method. She places the suits inside a double mesh laundry bag and washes them gently by hand. After drying them overnight, she airs them out the next morning. On the following day, she briefly uses a dryer to soften the fabric before finishing with precise ironing. With visible pride, she presents the beautifully restored suits. As the conversation turns to her dedication, the customer asks about her passion for laundry. Kinmi blushes again and nods happily. The day slowly comes to an end. She finishes her remaining tasks, feeds the fish in the aquarium, and hangs the last garments with meticulous care. By the time she closes the shop, it is nearly 6 p.m. The city glows under the shifting evening lights, and stars begin to appear overhead. She makes her way to the local bathhouse. Inside, laughter and cheerful chatter fill the women's bath as everyone relaxes and talks together. Eventually, the others leave, offering friendly farewells. She slips into the warm water and gazes at the full moon through the window, quietly expressing gratitude for a productive day. After thanking the bath attendant, she gathers her belongings and heads back outside. The streets are lively, filled with an excited crowd. Realizing that the fireworks are about to begin, she feels her own anticipation rise. As the brilliant bursts of light ignite the night sky behind her, she feels completely relaxed and decides to continue her work, letting the sounds of the fireworks accompany her. The next morning, Kinmi stretches her body on the beach, feeling the gentle morning breeze. A few passers-by ask politely if she's taking the day off. With a warm, polite smile, she replies that she is just exercising to prepare for the day ahead. Yet, despite the fresh air, a hint of laziness lingers, and she realizes with a small laugh that she is not much of a morning person. As she walks along the road, she becomes momentarily impressed by a high school boy, almost asleep, bowing slightly while holding a bag of garbage. The boy notices her, and she greets him with a smile. Feeling the cool morning breeze, she picks up her pace and heads to open her shop. Arriving at the shop, she ties her hair back, dons her apron, and excitedly prepares for the day's tasks. Throughout the day, she greets customers cheerfully while managing her work with care and efficiency. Around 3 p.m., while ironing clothes, she glances out the window and is startled to see that it has started raining. At that exact moment, the high school boy visits her shop. She greets him cheerfully and is pleasantly surprised to realize that he is the same boy she had seen that morning. With a calm expression, he hands her a bag full of clothes. She happily takes it and asks if he would like her to clean them. When he remains silent, she studies his expression, understanding his hesitation. Bowing humbly, she begins examining the dresses and, with a gentle smile, asks if he has a membership card. Thinking for a moment, he confidently shows her the card. She is then surprised to realize that he is Ishimochi's son. Casually, she asks if he has come to help his mother, and he nods, stating that his mother is busy today. She glances at him and feels a little restless, but seeing his slightly confused expression, she focuses back on the dresses. Noticing a loose thread on one of the shirts, she points it out to him carefully. She glances at him again, but when he looks at her with a confused expression, she quickly turns her gaze away, her nervousness showing. Unable to control her restlessness, she pretends to search for something among the racks. The boy watches her puzzled behavior, unsure of what to make of it. Finally, she turns back to him, bows politely, and then, to his surprise, kneels down to his shoes. She carefully examines the scuffed area, asking if he got the scratch from the concrete. When he nods hesitantly, she tells him to wait just a moment. With no other option, he stands there helplessly and glances around. His eyes land on her professional cleaning license, Wakana Kinmi. His impression of her deepens. She gently brushes the dirt from his shoes with a soft brush. For the tougher scuff marks, she uses sandpaper with careful precision. After finishing, she wipes them clean and pats her hands against her head in satisfaction. A bright smile spreads across her face as she admires the spotless result. The boy stares at his shoes in disbelief. They look brand new. Slightly blushing, she excitedly explains that cleaning shoes is simply part of a garment cleaner's responsibilities. His surprise only grows. Growing more animated, she enthusiastically describes how she balanced the scuffed areas with sandpaper and applied spot dyeing techniques to restore the original color. She proudly adds that their shop does more than laundry. They also clean shoes, bags, leather goods, and fabric items. Suddenly, she realizes how carried away she has become. Embarrassment washes over her. With a flushed face and a humble bow, she apologizes. She assures him that she will not charge him for the shoe cleaning since she worked on them without his permission. Fixing the scuff had bothered her, and she could not leave it unfinished. She even offers to replace the shoes if he is unhappy with the result. He remains silent, his expression calm and unreadable. After paying his bill, he turns to leave. Noticing the steady rain outside, she quickly calls out and offers to lend him her umbrella. Deep down, she worries about keeping his freshly cleaned shoes dry. He accepts the umbrella and holds it carefully to shield his shoes from the rain. Without changing his expression, he walks out of the shop. She warmly thanks him and expresses her hope that he will visit again. He pauses and glances back at her. Quietly, he asks whether she would also clean his school bag sometimes. Her face brightens, and she happily agrees. As he walks away, he reflects in silence. While the clothes could have been cleaned anywhere, he now understands why his mother chose this particular shop. He feels genuinely impressed. The scene shifts to Kinmi, busily doing her grocery shopping. After picking up some meals, she excitedly notices a few treats and happily buys a cranberry custard roll and a small salt pizza. As she walks down the street, holding her shopping bags and enjoying her snack, she is suddenly startled when a lady from the third floor calls out loudly. The woman apologizes for interrupting her while she's eating and asks if Kinmi could carry her laundry. Although our girl feels a bit embarrassed, she hesitantly agrees to help carry the laundry. Later, after opening her shop, she cheerfully answers a phone call while finishing her chores. It is Lady Ishimochi, inquiring about the umbrella and its logo. Kinmi proudly explains that every item she owns carries the shop's emblem. When Lady Ishimochi proposes sending her son to express gratitude for the umbrella, Kinmi modestly refuses, insisting that such formality is unnecessary. The conversation shifts to the laundry, and Lady Ishimochi wonders if the items will be ready by tomorrow. Although it is slightly ahead of schedule, Kinmi confidently assures her that everything will be prepared in time. She even volunteers to deliver the clothes personally and retrieve her umbrella along the way. Lady Ishimochi warmly accepts the offer. Once her tasks are complete, Kinmi grabs the laundry bag and hurries out, determined to deliver everything promptly. She drops off a fluffy coat to one customer, then rushes from house to house until every order is returned. At last, she arrives at the Ishimochi residence. She happily announces her arrival but grows nervous when 4 chubby men at the cafe turn to stare at her. At that moment, Ishimochi, dressed in her cafe uniform and serving the customers, greets her kindly. She suggests that Kinmi leave the laundry by the door and collect her umbrella, which rests nearby. After serving the men Doboroku sake and describing its sweet flavor, she moves briskly to another table, offering the boys more rice. Her eyes briefly drift toward Kinmei, who watches the lively scene with a smile. Raising her voice, Ishimochi calls for her son to come downstairs and offer his thanks, but Kinmi politely declines, explaining that she is already on her way out. Noticing the sweat on her forehead, Miss Ishimochi proposes that she enjoy a bath in their hot spring. The idea instantly excites her. Hot springs are her weakness, yet she hesitates, reluctant to intrude as a non-guest. Ishimochi reassures her with pride, explaining that although their inn is small, they take great pride in their free-flowing hot spring. The invitation fills Kinmi with delight. Soon, she is soaking in the warm bath, tension melting away after her busy day. She feels she has earned this peaceful moment. Still, she flushes slightly when Miss Ishimochi, peeking through the glass door, recommends the rooftop as the perfect place to cool down. Kinmi expresses her gratitude with a bright smile. After bathing, she carefully climbs the stairs. Upon reaching the rooftop, she is captivated by the serene beach view stretching before her. A sudden sound behind her makes her turn. She spots Ishimochi's son standing by a table holding an umbrella. With a shy smile, she wonders aloud if his name is Q. He calmly corrects her. His name is Kyusho. Her curiosity leads her to bring up the cafe's reservations, observing that the location offers an ideal view for fireworks. He confirms this and explains that the cafe is fully booked, with regular customers reserving spots as far ahead as next February. The information leaves her astonished. Thinking back to the 4 men downstairs, she inquires about them. He explains that they are construction workers who have been staying at the inn for about half a month. Though modest in size, the inn is affordable and welcoming, which keeps guests returning. She listens eagerly as he speaks with pride about the free-flowing hot spring. She also notices the admiration in his voice when he mentions his mother's dedication to their guests. When he jokes that his mother can be strict at times, she exhales softly, her expression tinged with admiration. She longs for such close family bonds. Seeing his puzzled look, she quietly reveals that she has lost most of her memories from the past 2 years. She cannot even recall whether she has parents. Catching the sympathy in his eyes, she quickly steadies herself, turning with a reassuring smile and insisting that she is doing fine. She then mentions that she should be heading back. As she prepares to leave, he reminds her about his earlier request. She pauses in confusion, then remembers. With a polite nod, she promises to take special care when washing his bags. Later, as he relaxes in the bath, reflecting on Kinmei's surprisingly sharp memory despite her amnesia, his mother reminds him to clean the bath once he finishes. As night settles in, Kinmi continues working diligently in her shop, making sure everything is perfectly arranged before closing for the day. In the morning, Kinmi cheerfully waters the plants outside her cleaning shop. The bright sunshine refreshes her as she stretches and enjoys the peaceful start to the day, with no customers hurrying in yet. As she finishes watering and heads into the shop, she is surprised to see a car stop in front. She glances back and notices a gorgeous lady stepping out with a small, cute girl. The lady suggests that the little girl stay in the car, but the child insists on going inside the shop alone for her social studies lesson. The mother nods happily, and Kinmi is immediately charmed by the lady's polite smile. The lady greets Kinmi politely, and she returns the greeting with a warm smile. When the little girl beams at her with pure innocence, Kinmi feels a rush of warmth and happily greets her back. Curious, she wonders if this is their first visit. The woman replies that a friend recommended the shop, praising Kinmi's excellent stain removal skills. Hearing this, Kinmi becomes both delighted and slightly flustered. With a blush and heartfelt enthusiasm, she reveals her philosophy, providing honest care, cleaning leather and fabric items alike, and offering convenient pickup and delivery services for elderly customers. Realizing she's been talking non-stop, she grows embarrassed and politely asks to see the shirt. The little girl carefully holds it out. As Kinmi inspects the fabric, she is startled by a dark stain. The mother claims gloomily that it came from squid ink pasta they had for dinner the previous night. Kinmi tilts her head in confusion when she notices the mark resembles the shape of a pork bun. The girl excitedly raises her hand and proudly reveals that it is actually a drawing of her favorite landmark, St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. Her mother bows slightly and reveals that Nairo loves drawing so much that she used squid ink sauce on her fingers to create art directly on her shirt. Looking guilty, Nairo softly apologizes. Her mother anxiously asks whether the stain can be removed. After carefully examining the fabric, Kinmi reassures them with a confident smile and guarantees that it can be completely cleaned. When Kinmei steps outside to see them off, she is surprised to hear Nairo ask for permission to stay a little longer. Her mother hesitates, explaining that if she remains, they will not be able to visit her grandmother. However, Nairo politely insists that she truly wants to learn and promises to visit her grandmother later. At last, her mother agrees, on the condition that Kinmi has no objection. With approval given, Nairo turns to Kinmi, her face glowing with excitement, and eagerly asks if she can watch the stain removal process. Though slightly surprised at first, Kinmi cannot refuse the girl's hopeful expression and agrees with a bright smile. As she begins the cleaning procedure, Nairo observes carefully for her social studies assignment. When the girl starts writing in her notebook, Kinmi explains each step in detail. She describes how older stains are treated first, followed by the application of different solvents layer by layer, depending on the type of stain. She carefully outlines the general process for proper garment care. Seeing that multiple chemicals are involved, Nairo curiously wonders where Kinmi learned these techniques. Kinmi pauses, unsure how to respond, then smiles shyly and admits that she does not remember all the details herself. Though puzzled, Nairo faithfully writes everything down. When Kinmi switches on a machine, Nairo reacts with visible shock and loudly questions it. Startled for a moment, Kinmi quickly regains her composure and clarifies that it is a steam-spraying device. She demonstrates how it works, applying the remover while using steam to lift the stain from the fibers. The steam gently pulls the stain away before their eyes. Encouraging Nairo to watch closely, Kinmi continues the process. As the stain fades almost completely, the transformation feels magical to the girl. Kinmi explains that preparing the fabric the night before made the removal much smoother. Overcome with excitement, Nairo suddenly begs to try removing a stain herself. Kinmei immediately feels concerned, knowing that proper cleaning requires professional skill. However, Nairo, nearly in tears, pleads earnestly and promises to follow every instruction with extreme care. After some hesitation, Kinmi agrees, under one condition. Nairo may practice only on an old towel, not on any customer's belongings. Thrilled, Nairo quickly retrieves her own shirt. With sparkling eyes, she explains that she drew on it with marker and now wants to remove the stain. Still cautious, Kinmi hands her the towel and keeps her own hands on the steam machine to guide her. Carefully supervising each step, she allows Nairo to proceed. After some effort, the towel is spotless. Unable to contain her joy, Nairo bursts out in excitement, delighted by the result. While Kinmi plans to properly clean Nairo's shirt later, time passes quickly. Now wearing one of Kinmi's spare shirts, Nairo thanks her sincerely, not only for the lesson, but also for lending her clothing. Kinmi gently suggests that she return it when she comes back to collect her family's laundry. With adorable determination, Nairo asks if she can help with customer items next time and become Kinmi's assistant. Kinmi smiles helplessly at the request. Sitting beside her, she gently reasons that before caring for others' belongings, she must learn to treasure her own. She shares how she treats clothing like precious keepsakes, each piece holding stories and memories. Her expression softens as she quietly admits that she has lost memories of her own past. That loss motivates her to protect the memories woven into her customers' clothes. With a warm smile, she invites Nairo to visit the shop anytime to learn more. The little girl happily agrees. As she waves goodbye, Kinmi feels deeply touched by the girl's gentle and sincere nature. She goes back inside and gently starts washing Nairo's painted shirt, treating it with the same care and attention she gives to every customer's item. Under a bright and fresh morning sky, Kinmi carries her bag and a page as she crosses the street, carefully searching for the address. At the street corner, a rich, roasting smell catches her attention. Feeling her appetite awaken, she follows the delicious aroma until she arrives at the local specialty shop, Atsue's dried fish store. The air is rich with the savory scent of roasting fish. Kinmei spots an elderly woman carefully tending the grill, handling each piece with patience and care. Captivated by the process, she steps closer. The sudden crackling sound startles her for a moment, and the fragrant smoke causes her to stare at the roasting fish in fascination. Sensing someone nearby, the grandmotherly shop owner turns around and cheerfully announces that freshly grilled dried horse mackerel is 250 yen. Kinmi nods politely and mentions that she received a pickup request call that morning from Ms. Katikuchi. The shop owner looks puzzled, insisting she made no such call. Kinmi grows confused as well. Before the misunderstanding deepens, Nairo rushes over, her face glowing with excitement at seeing Kinmi. The tension instantly melts away. Throwing her arms around her grandmother, Nairo happily introduces Kinmi to her. Still slightly bewildered, Kinmi watches as the girl winks playfully and explains that her grandmother owns the shop and is helping out today despite it being her day off. Kinmi bows respectfully, admiring Nairo for being such a thoughtful granddaughter. Curious, she asks whether Nairo was the one who made the morning call. Nairo immediately raises her hands and nods enthusiastically, admitting it. She replies that she wanted her to pick something up from her grandmother's shop and tried to sound as official as possible, just like her grandmother. Although Kinmi senses something slightly mischievous, she responds with a polite smile. Nairo then happily runs ahead, gesturing for Kinmi to follow. As they move through the shop, Kinmi is impressed by the huge decorative piece hanging from the ceiling. They cross the raw meat section, and Nairo carefully instructs Kinmi to be cautious of the narrow aisles, warning the workers of her presence. Kinmi also notices the squid shiokara and appreciates the care taken in the shop. Finally, Nairo gestures for Kinmi to enter a room. Peeking inside, she is mesmerized by a gorgeous, large flag hanging on the wall. While admiring it, Nairo explains that it belonged to her late grandfather and celebrated a significant catch he made as a fisherman. Kinmi listens as she gloomily shares that the flag had once been displayed in front of the shop, but her grandmother decided to move it inside because it had become worn and damaged. Kinmi studies the flag carefully, her eyes tracing every fold and stitch. Nairo shares that her grandmother had asked many cleaners to wash the flag, but all had refused. Feeling the fabric gently, she understands that washing such an irreplaceable old fisherman's flag could easily damage it. But when Nairo looks at her with hopeful eyes, asking her to clean it, Kinmi professionally examines the fabric, then nods with a warm smile. She explains that she will clean it, but first she needs to bring it with her and inspect it closely to see if it's truly doable. Nairo bows respectfully, agreeing. As Kinmi prepares to leave, Nairo quickly runs to her, urging her to wait. She gathers aprons, bandanas, and hurriedly removes the curtains for cleaning. Kinmi is momentarily shocked when Nairo even asks her to wash the lap blankets and seat cushions. Sitting down, Kinmi excitedly opens her bag to organize the items, while Nairo runs off to her grandmother to ask if there's anything else to wash. Kinmi worries that her bag might not fit everything, but she carefully packs and ties all the items together before stepping out of the room. Outside, Nairo excitedly asks her grandmother about washing even the flyers. Seeing her grandmother nod, Nairo joyfully helps remove them with a long rod support. Kinmi, surprised, politely asks if it's really okay to take down flyers while the shop is open, and her grandmother reassures her that it's fine, which makes Nairo beam with happiness. Later, her grandmother offers her some fried fish. Kinmi hesitates, feeling it's the middle of her work, but seeing the many customers happily enjoying the food and admiring the fish, she finally takes the plate and decides to enjoy the meal herself. As Kinmi takes her first bite of the fried fish, her cheeks warm and a bright smile spreads across her face. The flavor is juicy and rich, instantly satisfying. She jumps slightly when Nairo suddenly appears behind her and asks her to carry the cleaning flyers as well. Noticing Kinmi's eager expression while she is still eating, Nairo laughs softly and lets her finish first. Once she is done, Kinmi respectfully thanks Nairo's grandmother for the delicious meal. She observes several customers purchasing freshly prepared squid shiokara. At first, she politely declines, but soon changes her mind and happily buys 2 jars instead. Nairo expresses her gratitude for the purchase. Balancing the stack of cleaning items in her arms, Kinmi reminds them to inform her about the flag by the end of the next day. Nairo nods brightly before skipping off in good spirits. That evening, Kinmi relaxes in the local women's bath, pleased after receiving such a large order unexpectedly. Suddenly, she hears someone outside asking where to remove their shoes. Turning toward the entrance, she is surprised to see Nairo and her grandmother stepping inside. Nairo looks just as shocked, clearly not expecting to find Kinmi there. Soon, the 3 of them sit comfortably in the hot spring. When Kinmi wonders aloud if they visit often, Nairo's grandmother explains that she comes whenever Nairo stays over, allowing them to share peaceful moments together. As they soak, the grandmother fondly recalls coming to the bathhouse with her late husband. Her expression softens as she explains that he never liked baths, especially during winter. He would hurry back inside because he grew cold while waiting. Although they visited together, she rarely had the chance to relax properly. Nearby, Nairo splashes playfully and curiously questions whether her grandfather truly disliked baths that much. The grandmother confirms it with a gentle smile. Kinmi listens with a slight blush, realizing how much more enjoyable bathing here feels compared to doing so at home. Later, beneath the sparkling night sky, they say their goodbyes and head in separate directions. Walking home, Kinmi reflects on her visit to the dried fish shop and gazes upward at the stars. She thinks about the flag and understands how deeply precious it must be to the grandmother. That night, while carefully examining the flag, she makes a call to reassure Nairo's grandmother that it will be cleaned with the utmost care. The next day, Q steps out of the family market with his friend, who jokingly warns him not to fail before the festival, and Q nods while eating. Later, walking alone, he passes by Kinmi's shop and is shocked to see a large crowd gathered. People are talking, wondering why Kinmi has unexpectedly closed the shop. Noticing Q, an elderly woman asks if he's from the school nearby, and, relieved to see him, warns him that Kinmi has closed the shop today unexpectedly. She urges him to climb a tree to peek into her upper-floor home to make sure she's okay. Although hesitant, Q climbs the tree. From below, all the elderly women watch him closely, asking if he can see her. He shakes his head but continues, eventually reaching the balcony. The glass door is slightly open, and he peeks inside. To his shock, he sees Kinmi lying awkwardly on the carpet. Pills are scattered, and water from a glass has spilled onto the table. Concerned, Q rushes inside and calls her, asking urgently if she is okay. Kinmi slowly wakes up, rubbing her head and absent-mindedly looking around. When she notices Q behind her, she's startled, jumps up, and lets out a shout. Hearing her voice, the customers downstairs relax, realizing that she has finally woken up after oversleeping. Q, embarrassed, quickly apologizes for entering like this. Kinmi, still flustered, buries her face in the cushion and gloomily explains about her previous day. She recounts how she had worked on a precious item, carefully hand-washing it multiple times. She used great care, pressing water into the tub and washing it gently with detergent. After a hectic day, she finally hung the item to dry at night, feeling proud and accomplished to see it sparkling clean. After that, she decided to take a little time to relax. When a regular customer invited her out for dinner, she agreed without hesitation. Hearing this, Q is shocked. Kinmi continues, sharing that she had no prior experience drinking and was triggered to try a glass of alcohol. Afterward, she feels embarrassed and a little scared at how lightly she had taken the drink, confused about even remembering her first sip. She can't recall how she got back home, leaving her feeling flustered and puzzled. Now, noticing the pill bottle, Q feels a mix of excitement and embarrassment at how wild the night had been. Her face turns reddish as she quickly shouts in denial. Kinmi, remembering something, immediately asks about the time. When he tells her it's noon, she's startled, glances down, and notices the many customers waiting for her. Hastily, she tidies her hair and gestures for him to feel comfortable while she prepares to attend to the customers. As she opens the door and steps outside, she glances back, bows slightly, and nervously thanks him for waking her up. Q feels a little confused that Kinmi shows no anger at all for him entering her home without permission, so on her concern, he quietly assures her that he won't tell anyone about the disheveled mess he saw. Relieved, Kinmi, still a little flustered, steps closer and gently joins her pinky with his, asking him to make a pinky promise. Without waiting for more, she quickly leaves the room. Q remains stunned. It's a schoolyard-style pinky promise he's never made before. Kinmi steps outside and warmly welcomes all the customers. As he descends the stairs, Q observes her managing phone calls and assisting customers with ease. An elderly lady, thanking him for his help, hands him a milk candy, making him look like a preschooler in her eyes. Seeing Kinmi so busy and hesitant while handling everything, Q decides not to interrupt her. As he starts to leave, an elegant lady on a bicycle arrives and looks confused at the rush. Q, still nibbling on his candy, keeps quiet about the situation. The lady asks why Kinmi seems so hurried, and another elderly lady quietly explains that Kinmi overslept. The elegant lady, curious, asks whether Kinmi actually took the turmeric she was given. The first lady cheerfully further shares that she had invited Kinmi for dinner last night. She also mentions that, even though it was Kinmi's first time drinking, she managed it gracefully and walked home safely, so drinking could not have caused her oversleeping. Meanwhile, Kinmi is busy attending to customers. The lady asks Q if he's a regular customer. He denies it, saying he was just passing by. When the lady forced him, he climbed to the second floor and woke Kinmi up. Understanding the situation, but eager to start her workday, asks him to say hi to her, and the lady rides away on her bicycle. As Q watches her back, she turns, teasingly smiles at him, and boldly pats his back. She asks if he's falling in love with her before riding off, leaving him utterly confused and thinking about her job and her bold personality. It's a rainy day, with rain pouring over the trees and plants, and Kinmi's shop is closed today, as every first and third Thursday is her day off. Inside the shop, Kinmi, wearing a bright smile, is happily mopping the floors, cleaning detergent bottles, and after tidying the glass door and feeding the goldfish, she puts her glasses back on. With scissors in hand, she carefully cuts stickers and prepares flyers for the upcoming summer season. She works passionately, and by around 2:30 p.m., she opens the shop door, takes a deep breath with a smile, and removes her glasses, noticing that the rain has stopped. She returns inside to give the flyers their final touches, completing them perfectly. Now, stepping outside to distribute the flyers, she sees the puddles on the road reflecting power poles and her own image like a mirror. Like a carefree child, she jumps in the water, enjoying her own company while passers-by watch with amusement. She happily visits many customers, distributing her flyers, and finally arrives at Nairo's grandmother's shop, giving her a flyer as well. When she notices the flags she had cleaned earlier sparkling outside the shop, she is pleasantly surprised. Nairo's grandmother cheerfully informs her that Nairo will definitely call her again for cleaning, and with a blushed face, Kinmi happily promises to help. While walking and distributing flyers, Kinmi finally arrives at Atami Station. The place is crowded, and she happily and emotionally observes the people passing by. A shelter with hot spring water catches her attention, where many people, including children, are enjoying themselves, sitting and soaking their feet. Although she wasn't planning to, Kinmi hesitates for a moment, then decides to sit under the shelter and cautiously dips her legs in the warm water. As she sits nervously, an elderly lady next to her notices and, sensing her hesitation, gently asks about her health. Kinmi shyly explains that she hasn't visited this place in a long time and is amazed by how fancy the station has become. The elderly lady, sensing her emotions, shows her a photograph of the station from 9 years ago, where she had been posing happily with her daughter. Seeing it fills Kinmi with joy, and she bows respectfully to the lady before returning to distribute her flyers. After a long day, feeling tired, she sits on a bench and happily takes a sip from her water bottle. As evening approaches, she becomes captivated by the many townspeople practicing for the summer festival. The sound of drums fills the air, and Kinmi walks through the lively streets, enjoying the atmosphere. Finally, she arrives back at her shop and exhales deeply, feeling content and refreshed. Now she is sitting on her rooftop, placing a mosquito coil and a small lamp, enjoying the fresh night air and the sparkling lights of the town below. The distant beat of drums drifts up to her, filling her with energy as it signals the arrival of summer once again. She has lost count of how many times she has come up here to enjoy the fireworks from this rooftop. Completely absorbed in her memories, she imagines herself sitting here in past summers. Then, glancing at the coil, she suddenly realizes she is in the middle of making a poster. Hesitantly, she grabs her materials and belongings and climbs down the stairs, only to climb back up once more to take a final, bright look at the shining stars and the beautiful surroundings. The next day dawns bright and sunny. After cleaning her shop, she carefully places the cute handmade poster advertising a 20% discount, adorned with small handcrafted stickers, on the glass door in front of her shop.
Here I am, know it's been a